In the red after the release of its financial results for the year until the end March. The company reported a strong rise in revenue, but that only a small profit, which the company says was due to a loan and a BEE transaction. Speaking to Francis Hurd, the CEO Shameel Joosub said a lack of readily available radio frequency spectrum is hurting South Africa's national broadband ambitions. In results released today, Vodacom reduced its dividends to shareholders slightly. Here's more from the Vodacom CEO.
I think it's been a superb set of results, and for me it's been a culmination of a couple of years of hard work, but also the increased capital investment that we've put in both in networks in South Africa and in all our operations really now starting to bear fruit. The customer part is really an issue of customer registration, where we've had to make some deletes, but obviously that's been done across all operators, so it doesn't really affect our market shares.
All right, so not too worried about that. You are so dominant now in terms of revenue, even bigger than MTN on the continent. But does it feel like this is a crossroads? Because fibre seems to be flying. A lot of the smaller companies are making a name for themselves. Competition, is it coming, and how are you responding right now?
Look, I think fibre is definitely the future, and I think is a definite growth area for us. And that's the negative of the Neotel deal not happening, to be frank. But we have got plans. Our organic plans are quite strong. But we are also looking at other opportunities in the area to see how we can further accelerate in our fibre plans specifically.
How are you doing right now compared to those small movers that took up some Joburg suburbs, things like that?
No, I think if you look at it, we're more or less on par on some of that. I think you will see consolidation, because I think the payback periods on fixed are very long. And so you will have, it's really your big telcos who can afford to sit it out. Because the payback periods on these assets are very long.
Even for the mobile operations, I think you were wanting that spectrum. Everybody talks about spectrum. And in your statement this morning, it seemed like that frustration is coming through again with regulators. What's going on behind the scenes? Are you speaking to government? You saying, again, that things are being delayed?
Yeah, I think basically what's happening is that data is exploding. Now we have to build up fixed, so data is exploding, so which means we need more fixed infrastructure and we need more mobile infrastructure. And so to be able to cope with the amount of traffic, our traffic's growing 46% a year now, off a very large base. So what happens is there's only so much physically you can do with the existing spectrum. So in theory we could launch 4G countrywide overnight. We already have 58% 4G coverage. But what's happening is we don't have enough spectrum to be able to do that. And so that's the frustration that's building up, is that we need more spectrum to be able to cope with the demand from consumers. We are talking to government, and we're having those engagements, firstly as an industry, but also individually as Vodacom, with the different government departments to try and see how we can, one, speed up, into what will the form of the allocation of that spectrum be in the future.
Recently, the Constitutional Court found against Vodacom in that Please Call Me case. You weren't CEO at the time, but quite a castigation, quite an indictment on Vodacom culture because of the way it was handled, looking like a company that steals ideas. Do you believe there's a cultural problem, and what are you doing about it personally?
No, look, I think we could have, it's unfortunate that we've landed up where we have, and maybe we could have done things a bit differently. So one accepts that, but I think, a company like Vodacom is built on lots of innovation and lots of different ideas from employees. And I think that was basically one of the debates that was raging here. And many ideas and innovation have led to the success of what Vodacom is today. So I don't think we're really in a position where we steal people's ideas as such. I think there's an issue here, which is a different issue. Was there, the company wouldn't normally make a contractual commitment to employee, because it's expected that you would generate the ideas within that. In this case, the Constitutional Court found differently, that there was a contract between the company and the employee, and as such, Vodacom respects that, and we're now moving to a situation where we start negotiations with Mr. McCarthy to find a resolution.
I think you had 30 days. Have those negotiations started? And are you going to be fair or generous? How are you going in, with what attitude going into those negotiations?
No, I think we're going in very much with the attitude of trying to find resolution to the matter. And, basically the company will negotiate with Mr. McCarthy. And if the company can't find resolution, or between them they can't find resolution, the court is directed that myself as CEO then needs to determine a reasonable compensation.
Well, that was the CEO Shameel Joosub of Vodacom there. Well, a look at